All right. I think we all kind of secretly wonder about this, right? Like, what do seriously wealthy people do? I mean, yeah, the yachts and the private jets are cool. But is there something more? Like, are there habits these super successful people have that, like, help them get there? I mean, it can't all be luck or inheritance, right?
Yeah, it's easy to think, oh, they were just born into it, or they just got lucky.
Exactly. So today, we're going to do a deep dive into 10 habits that are often linked to financial success. We're going to see if there's actually something to these habits or if it's just like a bunch of quirky stuff rich people do.
Yeah.
The source for this deep dive is a podcast. It's called 10 Habits of Rich People that you can start today.
Okay, interesting.
Sounds promising, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we can kind of glean some insights and maybe even pick up a few tips that we can use in our own lives. All right, so habit number 1 is reading every day. Now, I don't know about you, but I do enjoy a good book every now and then. But this podcast really emphasizes that billionaires like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates are like total bookworms.
Yeah, and they're not just reading like, the latest thriller or anything like that. They're really focused on books that give them knowledge, give them a competitive edge.
Oh.
Things like biographies of other successful people or deep dives into specific industries, history, psychology even.
Yeah.
They're really constantly trying to learn new things to make better decisions and kind of stay ahead of the game.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Buffett actually, he's said to spend like 80% of his day reading.
Seriously. 80%? I mean, that's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
But I guess if you really believe that knowledge is power, then it makes sense to invest that much time in it, right?
It's like they're building this mental library,
Yeah.
full of wisdom and insights that they can then use to deal with problems or take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah.
Of course, most people can't just, drop everything and read all day long.
Right.
The podcast suggests at least an hour a day, maybe even just starting with a few pages at a time to build that habit.
Okay, yeah. That seems a little more doable. I remember hearing that Bill Gates takes an annual reading retreat, like a whole week, where he just disconnects and reads. Do you think that's something, like, I don't know, could that be beneficial for everyone?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to be a whole week, but carving out even an hour each weekend just to disconnect, get away from the screens, dive into a good book, it can be incredibly beneficial, not just for relaxation, but for like mental clarity as well. And you never know, you might even come across an idea that sparks a whole new project or something.
That's true, yeah. Okay, well, habit number 2 is one that I definitely struggle with. Waking up early.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the podcast mentions people like Tim Cook and Oprah Winfrey as early birds. They're up before the sun.
Wow.
I am not a morning person. I hit that snooze button like 5 times at least. So, do you really have to be an early bird to be successful?
Well, it's not necessarily about the specific time, right? It's more about the mindset. It's about taking advantage of those quiet hours before the world starts demanding your attention.
Yeah, to get some planning done, maybe fit in a workout before things get crazy.
Exactly. The podcast really emphasizes carving out time for yourself, for your goals, before those distractions come in. And actually, some studies have shown that people who wake up early tend to be more proactive, they're better planners, and they just have more mental clarity throughout the day.
Really? I wonder if that applies to everyone, though. I mean, are some people just naturally wired to be more productive at different times of day, like night owls,
You're right, not everyone thrives on the same schedule. Some people are definitely more creative and alert in the evening. The key is to understand your own rhythm, your peak productivity times. But even if you're not a morning person, try shifting your wake-up time even just by 30 minutes. You might be surprised by the difference it makes.
All right, I'm willing to give it a try. Maybe I can slowly train myself to become at least a slightly earlier person.
There you go.
All right, moving on to habit number 3. This one's a little more straightforward. Exercise regularly. Now, I think we all know that exercise is good for us, but how does it actually play into the habits of successful people?
It's about recognizing that connection between a healthy body and a healthy mind, right? They see exercise as an investment in their energy, their focus, their overall cognitive performance.
Okay, so it's like they're optimizing their physical machine to power their mental engine.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything super intense. Some people love hitting the gym, others prefer yoga, even just regular brisk walks. Richard Branson, for example, he's known for his early morning kite surfing sessions.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, he says it fuels his creativity and problem solving. The point is to find something you enjoy, right? And make it a part of your routine, even if it's just 20-30 minutes a day.
Makes sense. It's not about forcing yourself to do something you hate. It's about finding those activities that energize you and leave you feeling sharper mentally. Okay, habit number 4 is surrounding themselves with successful people. Now, this one seems a little less tangible, right? How do you actually do that?
It's about being intentional with your network. The people you spend your time with, they have a huge impact in your mindset and ultimately your success. There's that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, I've heard that before. So if you're constantly around people who are ambitious, driven, pushing themselves to grow, it rubs off on you.
Exactly. Successful people often seek out mentors, advisors, peers who challenge them to think bigger.
So it's like surrounding yourself with people who push you outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly. Think about it. Who would you rather spend time with? Someone who's constantly complaining or doubting you, or someone who inspires you to dream big and go for it?
Easy choice.
No.
But how do you actually find those inspiring people? Like, how do you build relationships with them?
It's about actively seeking out those opportunities to connect. Join mastermind groups, go to industry events, reach out to people you admire, even just for a quick informational interview. Be proactive.
Don't just wait for opportunities to come to you, go out and create them.
Exactly. Make a conscious effort to surround yourself with people who elevate your thinking.
This kind of leads perfectly into habit number 5, having multiple sources of income. I think most people understand why it's good to have more than one stream of income, but what's the underlying principle here?
It's about diversifying your income streams, not relying solely on a single paycheck.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Successful people, they often have investments, real estate, businesses, side hustles even, that generate income beyond their main job.
So it's about having options, not being completely dependent on one source of income.
Right, because that can be really vulnerable to, economic shifts or unexpected changes.
Makes sense. But for someone who's just starting out, where do they even begin?
Start small. Explore different avenues that fit your skills and interests. Freelancing, investing in a low-cost index fund, maybe even turning a hobby into a small online business. There are so many options these days.
Yeah, it's not about becoming a millionaire overnight. It's about taking those first steps, building a more diverse and resilient foundation.
Exactly. Plant those seeds that can grow over time.
It's like this whole idea of multiple income streams kind of ties into habit number 6, which is investing instead of just saving.
Right.
A lot of people, they might think, well, I'm putting money aside every month. Isn't that enough? But this podcast, it really stresses that wealthy people, they don't just, stash their cash under a mattress or something, that
Right.
they make that money work for them.
Yeah. There's a big difference between saving and investing, right? Saving is good for short-term goals, emergencies, things like that.
Sure.
But it's investing that can really build long-term wealth. The podcast highlights how wealthy people focus on assets that appreciate over time, like stocks, real estate, even their own businesses.
So they're not just trying to preserve their capital, they're trying to grow it.
Exactly.
And investing can be pretty intimidating, especially if you're new to it. Where do you even begin?
Well, the first thing is to educate yourself and maybe seek guidance from a financial advisor you trust.
Right.
The podcast suggests starting with relatively low-risk investments. Like index funds, they offer a diversified approach to the stock market.
Perfect. Yeah.
If you're interested in real estate, rental properties can provide a steady income stream.
Passive income, that's the dream.
Yeah. And then there's always starting your own business, of course, that's riskier, but it also has the potential for the biggest returns.
It sounds like it really depends on your risk tolerance. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. You've got to find strategies that align with your financial goals, your comfort level with risk, and your overall investment timeline. And, it's never too early to start. Even small, consistent investments, they can really add up over time.
So start planting those financial seeds early. Speaking of long-term thinking, habit number 7 is having clear goals. Seems pretty straightforward, but I'm curious, how does the podcast kind of dig deeper into this?
Well, it's not just about having vague ideas about what you want in life.
Okay.
It's about setting specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. The podcast really contrasts this with the idea of just drifting through life, reacting to things rather than actively shaping your future.
So it's about having a clear vision, right? And then breaking down that big goal into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly.
I know I can get sidetracked pretty easily, though, or just lose motivation along the way.
Yeah, that happens to the best of us. That's why the podcast emphasizes the importance of writing your goals down and regularly reviewing your progress. It's about holding yourself accountable, creating a roadmap to follow.
I've heard that even Olympic athletes use visualization techniques to mentally rehearse their goals. Do you think there's something to that? Like, can that mental aspect really make a difference?
Absolutely. Visualization is powerful. It reinforces your goals, creates a strong belief in your ability to achieve them. By vividly imagining yourself accomplishing those goals, you're kind of programming your subconscious mind to work towards those outcomes.
So you're planting those seeds in your mind and then tending to them through action. Habit number 8 is avoiding wasting time. I think this is something we can all relate to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
With all the distractions around us, how do these successful people stay focused?
They see time as their most valuable asset, and they protect it fiercely from frivolous activities.
So it's about being mindful, right? How you spend each hour, prioritizing those tasks that really contribute to your goal.
Exactly. And it's so easy to get caught up in, scrolling through social media or binge watching shows.
Oh, yeah.
But those minutes, they add up.
It's like you need a budget for your time, just like you would for your money. Allocating specific blocks for work, relaxation, personal growth.
That's a great analogy. And just like with a financial budget, you might need to adjust it along the way to find what works best for you. The important thing is to be conscious of how you're spending your time. Make sure it's aligned with your priorities.
Now, this next habit might seem counterintuitive, taking calculated risks.
Interesting.
Wouldn't you think someone who's already wealthy would just want to play it safe? Protect what they've got?
Well, the podcast actually points out that wealthy people understand that calculated risks are often necessary for growth. It's not about reckless gambling. It's about strategically assessing opportunities and taking action with confidence.
So it's about stepping outside your comfort zone, but doing so with a plan.
Exactly. Whether it's investing in a new venture, launching a product, making a career change, successful people recognize that staying stagnant can be just as risky as moving forward.
So it's about shifting from a fear-based mindset to a growth-oriented mindset.
Yeah. Understanding that setbacks can be valuable lessons. They can fuel future success.
All right, and finally, we come to habit number 10, practicing gratitude and a positive mindset. This one might seem a little, touchy-feely.
Right.
But how does the podcast connect this to financial success?
It's about the power of our thoughts and beliefs. Wealthy individuals often cultivate an abundance mindset. They focus on opportunities, not limitations.
So instead of seeing lack, they see possibility.
Exactly. And gratitude plays a big role in cultivating this mindset. By regularly expressing gratitude for what we have, we shift our focus away from what's missing, and we attract more positive experiences.
What you focus on expands, right?
Exactly. If you're always focused on negativity, you're going to attract more of that. But if you cultivate gratitude and possibility, you open yourself up to new opportunities.
It's like you're creating a more fertile ground for success to grow. As we've been talking about these habits, I've realized that a lot of them are kind of interconnected.
Oh, definitely.
Like waking up early might give you more time to exercise, which boosts your mood and focus so you can tackle your goals with more energy. It's like this positive domino effect.
That's a great point. These habits aren't isolated. They work together. They create a sort of upward spiral.
It's like building a solid foundation for a more fulfilling life. But I imagine trying to implement all 10 habits at once would be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a lot to take on at once.
So where should someone even begin? It was all a lot, right? Trying to become an early riser, like a billionaire A&D, a master networker A&D, like a gratitude guru, all at the same time.
Yeah, it's best to think of it more like a buffet, You don't have to load up your plate with everything.
Right. Pick and choose what looks good.
Exactly. Choose one or two habits that really speak to you, maybe ones that address a challenge you're facing right now or, align with something you're really hoping to achieve.
Okay, so instead of trying to change my whole life overnight, I should just focus on a couple of small things and see where that leads me.
Yeah, little steps can make a big difference over time. For example, let's say you're someone who has trouble focusing. You're always feeling scattered.
Oh, that's me for sure.
Maybe start with having clear goals and avoiding wasting time. Those two habits work really well together.
Yeah, I can see that. Like if you have those clear goals, it's easier to decide what's worth your time and what's just a distraction.
Exactly. It's like having a compass and a map instead of just wandering around aimlessly.
Right. Okay, so I pick my one or two habits and then what? Just try to do them perfectly every single day?
No, not at all. Don't aim for perfection, aim for progress. Consistency is key. Even small, consistent actions, they build up over time.
It's like that quote, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit.
That's a good one. It really shows how powerful habits can be. It's not about just doing something once, it's about making it part of your life.
You know, it's interesting. As we've been talking, I've been thinking about how these habits could apply to, like, teams and organizations, not just individuals. Imagine a workplace where everyone's committed to learning, taking smart risks, being grateful.
It's actually something a lot of successful companies already do. They invest in training, they encourage experimentation, they build a culture of appreciation.
So it's not just about personal success, it's about creating an environment where everyone can thrive.
Exactly. When you have individuals who embody these habits, it creates a ripple effect, and it can really push the whole organization forward.
This has been a great conversation, I have to say. It's really changed my perspective on these habits. I used to think they were just rich people things, but now I see them as tools that anyone can use to build a better life.
That's what we hope for with the deep dive, to help people take these ideas and put them into practice.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've covered 10 habits today, but obviously you can't do everything at once. So if you had to pick just one of these habits to start working on tomorrow, which one would it be and why?
Think about which habit really resonates with you, which one speaks to your needs and your goals right now. Choose that one and commit to making it a part of your daily life.
Remember, small changes can lead to big results. Start small, start today, and see where it takes you. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
We'll see you next time for more fascinating ideas and practical strategies.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to be the best version of yourself.